Okay, so this is the daf for June 21st, 2025. This is after Shabbat. This is daf 3 of Avodah Zarah. So I think I might have mentioned something in daf 2 that just how the Torah is our life and our life is the Torah. And the things in the daf can correspond to the things that happen in life. And here we are. This is after Shabbat. I'm recording this. I turn on my phone after Shabbat, and here I see the headline is that the United States destroyed with multiple bunker busters, 6, as well as, 30 Tomahawk cruise missiles, the nuclear facilities of Iran. And I might have mentioned it in the other video, but I know I wanted to, that something would probably happen to Iran because in the daf, for daf 2, Persia, which is modern day Iran, was, before the heavenly court. And they were essentially, their claims are thrown out. But anyway, here we are. So it's kind of amazing to, turn the phone on and see all that. But anyway, so tomorrow, June 22nd, we're going to have the siyum for Tractate Shavuot. And hopefully my little shiur will be very enlightening. I think that there's a lot of stuff there, and there's some stuff that's connected with the Hadron again. And I think the Hadron is like literally a well of meaning. And I will touch on that. So in the meantime, here we go with daf 3. So it says at the end of daf 2, Mar, son of Ravina, said, okay, now we're in 3. This serves to say that even if they fulfill the 7 Noachide mitzvot, they do not receive a reward for their fulfillment. The Gemara asks, and are they not rewarded for fulfilling those mitzvot? But isn't it taught in a Braita that Rabbi Meir would say, from where is it derived that even a goy who engages in Torah study is considered like a high priest? The verse states, quote, and you shall therefore keep my statutes and my ordinance, which if a person do, and shall live by them. It is not stated priests, Levites, and Israelites, but rather the general term ha'adam, person, a human, basically. From here you learn that even a goy, even a Gentile who engages in the study of Torah is like the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. Rather, the verse serves to tell you that they do not receive as great a reward for their fulfillment as one who is commanded and performs a mitzvah. Rather, they receive a lesser reward like that of one who is not commanded and still performs a mitzvah. As Rabbi Hanina says, greater is one who is commanded to do a mitzvah and performs it than one who is not commanded and performs it. And the reason for that is because, if there's something to do, let's just say dishes. We have, some chores. So if the kids do the dishes without being told, they get a reward for doing the dishes. But if they're told to do it and they do it, not only did they complete the task, but they did something additional, and they followed what you said. So there are two aspects to something if you're commanded to do it. There's the command, and you fulfill the command, and there's also the object that you were commanded to do, right? So you're listening to the authority, and you're fulfilling the instruction. So that's what that means. That's why there's basically 2 rewards for if you're being commanded. So that means that Israel, being given the Torah, by fulfilling the Torah, receives nearly like a double reward compared to any other nation on earth that wants to fulfill those laws. Okay. And, it goes to say they took it upon themselves to not be bound to that, right? So the Torah was given to all the nations, it says, and they wanted to see what was in it. The minority of the people wanted to accept it. The majority did not. Those types of ideas. And we took it upon ourselves without hearing what the commands were. And there's reward for that. So anyway, continuing. The Gemara returns to the discussion between God and the nations of the world whose claims are rejected with the rebuttal that they did not receive the Torah because they did not fulfill the 7 Noachide mitzvot that were incumbent upon them. Rather, this is what the Gentiles or the Goyim say before the Holy One, blessed be He, Master of the universe. As for the Jewish people who accepted the Torah, where is the evidence that they fulfilled its mitzvot? The Holy One, blessed be He, says to them, I will testify about the Jewish people that they fulfilled the Torah in its entirety. The nations say before Him, Master of the universe. This is a setup. What God did was basically a setup. And this is an idea. This is the world to come that these conversations are in, more or less. This is like the spiritual world to come. Okay, so I will testify, God says, about the Jewish people that they fulfilled the Torah in its entirety. And the nations say before him, Master of the universe, is there a father who can testify about his son? As it is written, Israel is my son, my firstborn, Exodus 4:22. Okay, they just admitted that. Since God is considered the father of the Jewish people, he is disqualified from testifying on their behalf. The Holy One, blessed be he, said to them, Heaven and earth will testify about them that they fulfilled the Torah in its entirety. And that's funny because that's like, okay, they accepted that now. That's out of the way. The nations say before him, Master of the universe, is this matter of the testimony of heaven and earth is tainted by a conflict of interest, as it is stated, if my covenant be not with day and night, I would not have appointed the ordinances of heaven and earth. Jeremiah 33:25. And concerning this verse, so they've just verified the covenant then. So through their, legal arguments in the heavenly court, they just verified the covenant. There you go. There's another one. Okay. If my covenant be not with day and night, I would not have appointed the ordinances of heaven and earth. Jeremiah 33:25. And concerning this verse, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says, what is the meaning of that which is written, and there was evening, there was morning the sixth day? Genesis 1:31. This teaches that the Holy One, blessed be he, established a condition with the acts of creation and said, if the Jewish people accept my Torah at the revelation at Sinai, all is well. But if they do not accept it, I will return you to the primordial state of chaos and disorder, or tohu vavohu. Okay, and this is similar to that which Hizkiah says with regard to a different matter. What is the meaning of that which is written? You caused sentence to be heard from heaven, and earth feared and was silent. Psalm 76, verse 9. 76, verse 9. If the earth feared, why was it silent? And if it was silent, why did it fear? So one who is afraid does not stay silent, and one who remains silent thereby demonstrates that he is not afraid. Rather, this is the meaning of the verse. At first, when God came to give the Torah to the Jewish people, the earth feared that they might not accept it, and it would be destroyed. This is alluded to by the phrase, you caused sentence to be heard. But ultimately, when the Jews accepted the Torah, the earth was silent. Consequently, heaven and earth are interested parties and cannot testify about the Jewish people's commitment to the Torah. Okay. Instead, the Holy One, blessed be he, says to the nations, let the witnesses come from among you and testify that the Jewish people fulfilled the Torah in its entirety. Let Nimrod come and testify about Avraham that he did not engage in idol worship. Let Lavan come and testify about Yaakov that he did not suspect that he is not suspect with regard to robbery. Genesis 31:36-42. Let the wife of Potiphar come and testify about Yosef that he is not suspect with regard to the sin of adultery. In Genesis 39:7-12. Let Nebuchadnezzar come and testify about Hanina, Mishael, and Azariah that they did not prostrate themselves before a graven image. Let Dariavish come and testify about Daniel that he did not neglect his prayer. Daniel 6. Let Bildad the Shuhite and Zophar the Naamanathite, and Eliphaz the Temanite, and Elihu, son of Barachel the Buzite, friends of Job. See Job 2:11 and 32, verse 2. Come and testify about the Jewish people that they fulfilled the Torah in its entirety, as it is stated. All the nations are gathered together. Let them bring their witnesses that they may be justified. Isaiah 43, verse 9. The gathered Gentiles will submit testimony on behalf of the Jewish people and demonstrate the Jews' righteousness. So the Gentiles say before him, Master of the universe, give us the Torah afresh, and we will perform its mitzvot. The Holy One, blessed be he, says to them in response, fools of the world, do you think you can request this? One who takes pains on Shabbat, on Erev Shabbat, will eat on Shabbat. But one who did not take pains on Erev Shabbat, from where will he eat on Shabbat? Meaning the opportunity for performing a mitzvah is already passed, and it is now too late to ask to perform them. But even so, I have an easy mitzvah to fulfill, and its name is Sukkah. Go and perform it. So there's the idea that in the future that the nations of the world will have to go up to Jerusalem to celebrate Sukkot, and the nations that do not go will be punished. He says it's an easy mitzvah. Basically, you just live in a little hut, right, for 7 days. The Gemara asks, how can you say that it is possible to perform a mitzvah after the end of the world? But doesn't Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi say, what is the meaning of that which is written? You shall therefore keep the commandment and the statutes and the ordinances which I command you this day to do them. Deuteronomy 7:11. This verse teaches that today in this world is the time to do them, but tomorrow in the world to come is not the time to do them. Furthermore, today is the time to do them, but today is not the time to receive one's reward. which is granted in the world to come. The Gemara explains, but even so, God gave the nations an opportunity to perform a mitzvah, as the Holy One, blessed be He, does not deal tyrannically with His creations, but wants them to feel that they have been judged fairly. The Gemara asked, and why does God call the mitzvah of sukkah an easy mitzvah to fulfill? Because performing the mitzvah involves no monetary loss. Excuse me. Immediately, each and every Gentile will take materials and go and construct a sukkah on top of his roof. And they can be natural stuff. It doesn't have to be like you buy construction materials. So anybody could do this as long as you have access to the natural materials, right? And the Holy One, blessed be He, will set upon them the heat of the sun in the season of Tammuz, meaning the summer. And each and every one who is sitting in his sukkah will be unable to stand the heat, and he will kick his sukkah and leave, as it is stated, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. Psalms 2, verse 3. The Gemara asks, why does God heat the sun over them? But didn't you say that the Holy One, blessed be He, does not deal tyrannically with His creations? The Gemara answers, this is not considered dealing tyrannically with the Gentiles, because for the Jewish people as well, there are times when the season of Tammuz extends until the festival of Sukkot, and in such years sitting in the sukkah causes them suffering. The Gemara asks, but doesn't Rava say that one who suffers in the sukkah is exempt from performing the mitzvah of sukkah? And under these circumstances, even a Jew is permitted to leave the sukkah. If so, why are the Gentiles criticized for leaving? The Gemara answers, granted that one is exempt from performing the mitzvah and is permitted to leave his sukkah, but should one kick it? The Gemara resumes its narration. Immediately, the Holy One, blessed be He, sits and makes sport of those Gentiles. He laughs at them, as it is stated, he that sits in heaven makes sport, and the Lord has them in derision. So Psalms 2, verse 4. With regard to this verse, Rabbi Yitzchak says, there's no making sport for the Holy One, blessed be He, but on that day alone. There are those who teach that which Rabbi Yitzchak subsequently said with regard to this matter, as it is taught in a Braita that Rabbi Yoshi says, in the future the nations of the world will come and convert. The Gemara asks, and do we accept them as converts at that time? But isn't it taught in another Braita, the court does not accept converts in the days of Moshiach. Similarly, they did not accept converts either in the days of David or in the days of Solomon due to a concern that these people wanted to convert for ulterior motives, because the Jewish people were mighty and respected. Okay, that is a statement, but there are obvious examples that there were converts in the days of David and Solomon, but it just wasn't the establishment who performed the conversions. It was the layman who did it. Okay, and I actually have a video that I saved of a rabbi who goes through these sources and presents sources for will there be converts in the Messianic era. And he says it's not so clear that there will or will not be, because the sources are varied on this. So basically, keep the door open in your mind that it's not 100%. So anyway, rather, Rabbi Yossi means that they become converts who have attached themselves to the Jewish people, who have basically attached themselves, and they don phylacteries on their heads, phylacteries on their arms, place ritual fringes on their garments, and a mezuzah on their doorways. And I've told people this in the past. So wearing tefillin, wearing tzitzit, and having a mezuzah are all symbols of taking upon yourselves the mitzvot, because they represent the Torah. Like putting a talit on with the tzitzit, the fringes, is basically you're putting the yoke of Torah upon yourself. Having phylacteries and binding them to your arm. Wrapping a strap 7 times, that sort of thing. That's vow oriented, just like we have Be'er-Sheva, right? There's Be'er-Sheva. It can be seen as, the well of 7, the well of oaths, the oath. Those sorts of things. It's tied together. So, an oath, the number 7 is tied together. You're wrapping it 7 times on your arm. It's not just 7, but also the idea that you're attaching yourself to Hashem. You're putting your name upon Him. You have a shin, dalet, and yod that the straps make on various sections of your body. And the mezuzah, that's another thing where, you have the name of God placed upon your doors with passages from the Torah, and they're passages where you're teaching Torah to your generations. You teach them to your children. So those are mitzvot that are basically outward expressions that you've taken upon yourself, the mitzvot. which is a serious thing. It's not something to be taken lightly. And the only thing other than taking upon yourself the mitzvot is, Brit Milah and Tevilah, or immersion. So, here we go. So he says that rather, Rabbi Yoshi means that they become converts who have attached themselves, and they don phylacteries on their heads, phylacteries on their arms, place ritual fringes on their garments, or tzitzit on their garments, and a mezuzah on their doorways. Okay, when these converts see the war of Gog and Magog, every convert of this sort will say to Gog and Magog, "For what purpose did you come?" Now, there's words that the editor is placing in here, so this doesn't exactly say this. So when they see the war of Gog and Magog, will say, "For what purpose did you come?" And they will say to him, basically against the Lord and against his Messiah, as it is stated, "Why are the nations in an uproar, and why do the peoples mutter in vain?" Which is a quote from Psalms 2, 1 and 2, verse 1 and 2. The kings of the earth stand up, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his Messiah. Okay, and then every one of these will tear loose his sign of a mitzvah and leave, as it is stated, "Let us tear their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us." In the Holy One, blessed be he, sits and makes sport. As it is stated, he that sits in heaven makes sport. The Lord has them in derision. Psalms 2, verse 4. So Rabbi Yitzchak says, there is no making sport for the Holy One, blessed be he, but on that day alone. The Gemara asks, is that so? Is there no other making sport for the Holy One, blessed be he? But doesn't Rav Yehuda say that Rav says, there are 12 hours in the day. During the first 3, the Holy One, blessed be he, sits and engages in Torah study. During the second 3, he sits and judges the entire world. Once he sees that the world has rendered itself liable to destruction, he arises from the throne of judgment and sits on the throne of mercy, and the world is not destroyed. So during the third set of 3 hours, the Holy One, blessed be he, sits and sustains the entire world from the horns of wild oxen to the eggs of lice. During the fourth 3 hours, he sits and makes sport with the Leviathan. As it is stated, there is Leviathan whom you have formed to sport with. Psalms 104, verse 26. Evidently, God makes sport every day, not only on that day, on that one day. So Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says in explanation, he makes sport with his creations, just as he sports with the Leviathan. He does not make sport with his creations, but on that day alone. So Rav Acha said to Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, from the day the temple was destroyed, there's no longer any making sport for the Holy One, blessed be he. And from where do we derive that there is no making sport? If we say that it is from that which is written, and in that day did the Lord, the God of hosts, call to weeping and to lamentation and to baldness and to girding with sackcloth, Isaiah 22, verse 12. That is inconclusive. Perhaps that day alone was called for weeping and lamentation and no additional days. So rather, you might suggest that the source is that it is written, quote, if I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth, if I do not remember you. Psalm 137, 5 and 6. This is also inconclusive, as perhaps there is no forgetting of Jerusalem for God, but in any event, there is still making sport. Rather, it is derived from this verse, quote, I have long time held my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now I will cry like a driveling woman, gasping and panting at once. Isaiah 42, 14. The Gemara asks, if God no longer makes sport, what does he now do during the fourth 3-hour period of the day? The Gemara answers, he sits and teaches Torah to school children, as it is stated, whom shall one teach knowledge, and whom shall one make to understand the message? Them that are weaned from the milk, them that are drawn from the breast. Isaiah 28, verse 9. The verse is interpreted in the following manner. To whom does God teach knowledge, and to whom does he make to understand the message? And to those who are just weaned from milk, and to those who are drawn from the breast, or children not only received weaning from nursing. So the Gemara asks, and initially before the destruction of the temple, who would teach the school children before the destruction of the temple? The Gemara answers, if you wish, say the angel Metatron would teach them, and if you wish, say instead that he would do both this, sport with Leviathan, and that, teach the school children, whereas after the destruction of the temple in the fourth period of the day, he only teaches the school children. So the Gemara asks, and during the 12 hours of the night, what does God do? The Gemara answers, if you wish, say that the night is similar to the day. God performs the same activities as in the day. And if you wish, say instead that he rides on his light cherub and flies in 18,000 worlds. As it is stated, the chariots of God are 20,000, even Shinan, thousands. Psalms 68:18. Do not read it as even, or Shinan, rather read it as that which are not She'enan. Since the minimum of thousands is, it's plural, so the minimum is 2,000. So it indicates that 2,000 are not present. That is, the chariots of God are 20,000 minus 2,000, which means that God rides in 18,000 worlds. So if you wish to say instead that God sits and listens to the songs of the mouths of the angelic creatures, as it is stated, quote, by day the Lord will command his loving kindness, and the night his song will be with me. Psalms 42, verse 9. Okay. Rabbi Levi says, anyone who interrupts his study of words of Torah to occupy himself with mundane matters will be fed with the coals of the broom tree. As it is stated, they pluck saltwood from wormwood, and the roots of the broom are their food. Job 30, verse 4. Reish Lakish says, with regard to anyone who occupies himself with Torah at night, the Holy One, blessed be he, extends the thread of kindness over him by day, and it is stated, by day the Lord will command his kindness, and in the night his song shall be with me. Psalms 42, verse 9. The verse is understood as follows. What is the reason that by day the Lord will command his kindness to extend over him? It is due to the fact that in the night his song is with me. That is, he occupies himself at night with Torah, which was referring to as a song. There are those who say that this is what Reish Lakish says. With regard to anyone who occupies himself with Torah in this world, which is comparable to night, the Holy One, blessed be he, extends a thread of kindness over him into the world to come, which is comparable to day, as it is stated, by day the Lord will command his kindness, and in the night his song shall be with me. The Gemara continues discussing the importance of Torah study. So Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel says, what is the meaning of that which is written, quote, and makes people as the fish of the sea, as the creeping things that have no ruler over them? Habakkuk 1:14. Why are people compared to the fish of the sea? This serves to say to you, just as with regard to the fish of the sea, once they arise onto dry land, they die immediately. So too, with regard to people, once they separate themselves from studying the words of Torah and performing the mitzvot, they die immediately. Alternatively, just as with regard to the fish of the sea, once the sun is heated over them, they die immediately. So too, with regard to people, once the sun is heated over them, they die immediately. The Gemara clarifies, if you wish, say that this applies to this world, and if you wish, say instead that it applies to the world to come. If you wish, say that it applies in this world in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Hanina. As Rabbi Hanina says, all occurrences that befall man are in the hands of heaven, except for colds and pachim, so obstacles or snares, I think, from which one is liable to protect himself. As it is stated, colds and snares are on the path of the crooked. He who guards his soul shall keep far from them. Proverbs 22, verse 5. This indicates that cold and conversely heat are forms of harm from which one must protect himself, which teaches that being exposed to excessive heat can cause death. So if you wish, say instead that this is referring to the world to come, in accordance with the statement of Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. As Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says, there is no Gehenna in the world to come. Rather, the Holy One, blessed be he, will remove the sun from its sheath, where it is situated during these times, and heats that world with it. The wicked will be punished by it and consumed by the heat, but the righteous will be healed by it. The wicked will be punished. Excuse me. And that is the end of Daf 3. And I'm actually happy to get back to this Daf. I like all the Agadata that's in the Gemara. So anyway, have a wonderful evening, day, night, whenever you watch this.